This is probably one of the biggest things that stops people from quitting their jobs and becoming entrepreneurs, is they're terrified about. For those of you who are ready to leave your jobs, this episode is for you. I'm going to go through 5 specific steps that you are going to want to take before you quit your job. It's important to take risks when you are trying to build wealth, but you want to mitigate those risks as much as possible. I want you to join a community of fellow entrepreneurs. You know why? Because you are surrounded by 9-to-5ers right now that love their 9-to-5 life. Run the numbers. Please don't think that this is a step to skip. Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, do this first. It is a required ingredient to this freedom that you are creating for yourself, and 100% worth it, I can tell you from the other side. Even though you feel like, oh my God, I'm taking this huge risk, it's really not that big of a risk as long as you follow the steps in this plan.
Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers.
Hello, and welcome back to the Hello 7 podcast. I am so excited to talk to you today. For those of you who are ready to leave your jobs, this episode is for you, okay? I'm going to give you your game plan. I'm going to go through 5 specific steps that you're going to want to take before you quit your job. Now, I know that it's, sometimes you're tired of it. You don't want to show up anymore. You're calling out sick all the time. And you're like, how can I get out of this day job? And I know it sounds exciting and fun to just jump off a cliff and quit. But I promise you the other side of that is not being able to pay your bills. So that is not necessarily the way you want to do it, okay? I'm an Aquarius. I love making decisions based on how I feel, and that sounds fun. But let me tell you, when I was ready to stop practicing law and start my new business, I had a transition plan, and you are going to need the same thing, okay? So we're not going to just jump off a cliff. We're going to do this smart and strategically so that we don't suffer in the process or cause our loved ones or any dependents that you may have to suffer as well. Okay. So this can be a fun process. This can be an exciting process, and, just have some patience as you work through it. Okay. And it doesn't have to take forever. I'm going to actually give you a game plan that helps you understand exactly what do I need to have lined up. I know you've heard a lot of very common advice about what you need to do before you quit your job. And this is not any of that. All right. Most of that advice sucks and is unrealistic. Okay. So instead of doing that, I'm going to give you an actual realistic plan that you can actually do that will set you up for success when you do finally give in your 2 weeks notice. Okay. Are y'all ready? Let's do this. Step number 1 is run the numbers. Okay. I want you to run your numbers and really, really understand what exactly do I need on a monthly basis to pay my bills and just survive and thrive at a base level. Okay. So that means you're going to want to look at your take home pay. What are you taking home right now? It's not about what you're paying Uncle Sam. What are you paying in Social Security? What are you paying in all of the deductions that come out of your paycheck? No, I want to know how much money are you netting out of your paycheck every week or biweekly, how often you get paid. What does that total amount that you bring home in a month? Okay. So maybe you make, $5,000 a month, but what you take home is actually only $3,500. Great. So then we want to use that $3,500 that you're actually using for living expenses. That's the number that we need to know. Okay. So I want you to first get clear on how much money am I actually taking home each month, right? Let's start with that and know what that number is. The next thing I want you to do is look at what expenses will you no longer have when you're no longer working this 9-to-5, right? So maybe you're buying wardrobe for your job, you need suits or you need office attire, so you can cut some of the clothing costs that you've had. Maybe you no longer need to dry clean your clothes, and that's an expense each month that you will no longer have. What does it cost you to commute to work every day, every week, every month, right? Figure out that number and you can cut that out of your budget, right? Because you will not need to commute anywhere anymore once you are no longer working this job. And then think about, is there anything else that you would want to cut? You're going to want to look at your budget and say am I spending money on things that I'm actually not getting any benefit from? Cut that too. Okay. So the whole point of going through this run the numbers process, by the end of this, the goal is to have a clear monthly number that you need to survive, right? This is the money that I need to make to pay my rent or mortgage, to cover the cost of food, to pay for gas or any transportation costs that I might have, just to live. We got to know what that number is. Okay. So figure out from the exercises I just told you, what is that monthly number that you need to cover your expenses and continue your baseline lifestyle, right? That you're at right now. So that's step number one. Step number two is figure out health insurance. This is probably one of the biggest things that stops people from quitting their jobs and becoming entrepreneurs is they're terrified about health insurance and they're trying to figure out how am I going to cover that expense? Health insurance is an expense just like anything else. If you can pay rent, you can pay for health insurance. Okay. So this should not be a reason that stops you from becoming an entrepreneur, but make sure you do your research and understand how am I going to make sure that I have health insurance coverage as an entrepreneur. Okay. So there's some things that you're going to want to look into. First, look at your current job. Do they have some options to maintain your health insurance after you leave and for how long? There's something called COBRA in the US that most companies have to offer, which allows you to continue your health insurance coverage, but instead of your employer paying for the health insurance or a big part of it, you're going to pay for it. So go figure out what is that number if you continue with COBRA from your current job, right? So that's step one. Another thing you'd want to look at is, do I have a loved one whose health insurance I can get on? If you're married, maybe you can get on your partner's health insurance, your spouse's health insurance. If you're really young, in your early 20s, could you get on your parents' health insurance, right? Figure out if there's some free health insurance out there for you through a family member. Another thing that you'll want to do is look at state and government options, right? Check out Obamacare and see, can you purchase health insurance through Obamacare and what is it going to cost you on a monthly basis for yourself and any dependents that you currently have on your health insurance through your job. All right. So understand your health insurance options. Sometimes you can go direct to the different health insurance company and buy health insurance directly from them. This is something that I have done for my family. That's what I do right now to cover for myself for health insurance. Another option is to find a health insurance broker in your area who can give you some quotes from different options. The point is you just need to know what it's going to cost you. And what I have found, I've been an employer for a long time and have employed people and offered health insurance to people for a long time. And what I find is for a single person that is relatively healthy, $500 a month is probably enough to cover health insurance for you. Okay. So the whole point of these steps is to get to that monthly number that you need to cover through entrepreneurship in order to quit your job. Step number 3 is also incredibly important. We've officially rescheduled ROI The Millionaire Summit 2025. Join me, Hello 7, and hundreds of your newest business besties in Huntington Beach, California from June 17th through the 19th for 3 days of high-impact, high-caliber fun. Let me tell you why ROI The Millionaire Summit is happening at the perfect time. June is the ultimate mid-year reset. It's your chance to pause, reflect, and redirect your energy for the months ahead. By the time the summer rolls around, you've had 6 months of wins, lessons, and challenges. That makes June the moment to evaluate what's working and ditch what's not, and pivot for even bigger success in the second half of the year. I'm so excited to invite you to ROI 2025 this summer to reconnect with your vision and take million-dollar action with me. Come to dream bigger, move boldly, and reconnect with your purpose. So if you're ready to realign with your vision, sharpen your strategy, and set yourself up for massive wins, ROI is where you need to be. Head to hello7.co/ROI to grab your ticket. Figure out your in case shit plan, right? In case shit goes wrong or in case shit rolls downhill, right? If in case shit doesn't go the way that I was hoping it would go, then this is my emergency plan, right? This is what I activate if it doesn't work out the way that I want. There is something in lawyer speak called foreseeable events, right? And it is foreseeable as a new entrepreneur that you won't hit that monthly number every single month as you are working to build up your business. And so you want to have a contingency plan, a backup plan to cover you should that happen, right? We are all choosing to become entrepreneurs. This is a choice, right? We're gainfully employed and we want to become entrepreneurs. This is a personal choice and you want to take personal responsibility for your situation. And, it's important to take risks when you are trying to build wealth. wealth. You have to take risks to build wealth, but you want to mitigate those risks as much as possible, right? Again, we're not jumping off a cliff. Maybe we're jumping off a cliff, but we're doing it with a parachute. Okay. So that's what this plan is preparing you to do. All right. So this is your emergency plan. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to break down this emergency plan for you. And it is not the advice you have always heard. The advice you have always heard is have at least 12 months of living expenses in a savings account. That is the common advice. And that is very unrealistic for most people, right? If we could save a year's worth of expenses, we would have been quit these jobs, okay? Most of us are not able to have that much additional room in our monthly budgets that we can save that much, or we could, but it would take us a really long time, longer than we are willing to stay at these jobs. So if that's the advice you heard and that's what's stopping you from becoming an entrepreneur, just know what I'm about to share is not that, okay? There's another way if that's not an option for you. So one, you're gonna wanna look at any retirement accounts that you have. Do you have a 401k? And if you do, can you borrow against it? I'd rather you borrow against your 401k than take the money out wholesale, because then it's gone. Right. And sometimes you might have an emergency that requires that. But again, that's not going to be our first option. So do you have a 401k where you could borrow against it and be able to use some of those funds in a pinch, right, to cover you while you are getting through this entrepreneurial journey? Look at any state benefits you might be entitled to. Like, are you able to apply for unemployment after you leave your job? And how much money would that be? Right? Because that could be a way for you to supplement your income, right, from your new entrepreneurial venture. You'll want to see if your job offers any options like a package to leave. If you are in a union or if you have a job with like amazing, highly negotiated benefits, often the company will pay you to leave because they don't want to give those benefits to new employees that are coming in. So it's actually cheaper to like give you some money to leave, right? And have another person come in and take over your job that they're not going to give those benefits to. So this is something that my husband did. He worked at a blue collar job and he was able to get what they call a package to leave. And so that money, it wasn't a huge sum of money, but it was enough money that it gave us some additional runway that we could use to, cover us while we were building up the business. Get a line of credit before you leave your job while you can still show your pay stubs and the income that you have. Get a line of credit that you can use in case of emergencies only. You don't want to start using this line of credit all the time as like your regular source of income, because guess what? It has to be paid back. Okay. And you need to have a plan to pay it back. So you don't want to use that as a replacement for income. However, getting a line of credit when you are still gainfully employed will be way easier than trying to get a line of credit as a new entrepreneur. Banks do not want to bet on you as a new entrepreneur, but they will bet on the salary that you are regularly getting from a job that you've had for quite some time. So apply for a line of credit. You could also consider applying for a new credit card that has like 0% APR for the first 12 months. That way, should you need to charge something in an emergency, you've got some time before they're going to charge you interest. Okay, so you could be paying the minimums for a little while you are revving your business up. This is about putting together a series of different sources of income that you could pull on, right, should you need to. The last thing in your contingency plan is sell some stuff, right? Do you have some things lying around the house that you no longer need, care about, want, or are happy to part with? This is one of the things that I did when I started my business. I sold a whole bunch of stuff. Furniture, I got rid of my really nice car, replaced it with a hoopty, right? I just lowered my expenses by selling some things that I was happy to part with. And that allowed me some additional runway to keep working on my business. So you don't have to do this, but it's one of the options that you're going to use to put together your contingency plan. Now, by the end of this, the goal for this step is for you to have a plan that gives you a month, 2 or 3 maybe of runway, right? So like if I've got a month of expenses that I could put on a credit card, and then I also have sold some things that give me another month's worth of expenses, and I have a 401k that if I really need to, I can borrow against it, and maybe I can borrow 50% of the total balance, and that would give me that third month, right? So do you have all 3 months sitting in a savings account? No, but you know which levers to pull should you need it, right? That's the whole point. So that's how you're going to piece together your emergency plan before you quit your job. Remember, we are creating your plan to quit your job. These are things that you're going to do before you quit your job. And the next thing that I'm going to cover in the next 30 seconds, I'm sure you haven't heard before, or at least not the way that I'm going to tell it to you. So what you're going to do next in this plan is start your side hustle and get to selling. Okay, it's time to sell some things. So I want you to assess okay, what skills do I have and what services could I sell, and start selling. And how much are you going to sell? The number that you came up with in steps number 1 and 2, right? So let's say when you look at step number 1, your take home pay is $5,000 a month, and that's how much in expenses you have. So you need $5,000 a month to be able to cover your expenses as a new entrepreneur. Okay, great. Then you looked at health insurance, and health insurance is going to be another $1,000 a month. Okay, so now you know you need $6,000 a month, and that is the amount of money you need to be able to cover your expenses as a new entrepreneur. Great. That's your target. So as you create your side hustle, I want you to do your side hustle, start your side hustle while you're still working this job. Yes, you're going to work evenings, you're going to work weekends. It takes effort, okay? Effort is required. It is a required ingredient to this freedom that you are creating for yourself, and 100% worth it, I can tell you from the other side, okay? Not only myself, but so many of my clients and fellow entrepreneurs will all say it was worth the risk. It was worth overcoming the fear. It was worth putting in those extra hours for a short period of time to get to the level of freedom that they eventually got to, okay? All right, so $6,000 a month is the target. And so you are going to create usually a service business, because a product business usually requires some upfront capital, right? You got to create a prototype, you have to get the product produced, and that costs money. So instead of doing that, I want you to instead create a service. So let's say you're a social media manager and you work for a company, right? Okay, great. How can you get some clients managing social media for them, managing social media for an influencer or for some entrepreneurs or for some businesses, right? So could you get 1, 2, or 3 clients a month that would pay you that $6,000 a month every month, right? Because again, you want recurring revenue, right? You want revenue steady and regular, similar to how you were getting your paycheck. So if you got 3 clients where you handled the social media for them and they paid you $2,000 a month, guess what? Now you have $6,000 a month covering your expenses every month, and you've got your backup plan just in case one of those clients doesn't pay you 1 month, okay? So that's how I want you to think about it. The whole point of this is I want you to get your side hustle started, and I want you to do it for at least 3 months before you quit your job, okay? And spend that 3 months getting those first few clients, signing them up for recurring packages so that you can leave your job knowing that you've already got that $6,000 a month that you need to cover expenses. So that's how you want to approach your side hustle. In the next episode of this podcast, I'm going to get into more of the details of how you get clients and how you market your skill set. So stay tuned for the next episode if you want more on this step. Listen up. If you're tired of setting the same income goals year after year and still coming up short, it's time to change the game. You know you're meant for more, but right now your business isn't moving like it should. You've got the talent, the skills, the ambition, but your bank account isn't reflecting that. That's where the Make Money Moves Challenge comes in. For 5 days, I'm giving you the exact strategies, mindset shifts, and money-making moves that have helped me and thousands of other entrepreneurs break out of the feast or famine cycle and start stacking real wealth. No more scrambling to hit your revenue goals, and no more waiting for the perfect time to go all in. You're getting daily action steps that will have you making more money immediately. This isn't a fluffy feel-good challenge. This is about building a business that actually pays you what you deserve. So are you in? If so, join me for our next challenge. Go to hello7.co/challenge to sign up now. Now, that brings us to step number 5. This is your very last step. This is the thing that I want you to do next. So after you've run the numbers, after you've figured out health insurance, after you put together your contingency plan, and after you started your side hustle and began to run it for a couple of months, what I want you to do is join an entrepreneurial community, okay? I want you to join a community of fellow entrepreneurs. You know why? Because you are surrounded by 9-to-5ers right now that love their 9-to-5 life. They love the security of that life. And when you say you're gonna leave and take a risk, they're gonna tell you not to do it, okay? Because in their mind, it sounds bananas, right? Why would would you leave this job? Why would you leave this security? They don't get it. So you need to get yourself around people who do get it. So I want you to join a community, whether it's a Facebook group, on a social media account, or find an entrepreneur. We have a community called The Club. We also do challenges every month. I want you to get yourself around other entrepreneurs because you need that evidence that it works. When you are in a community of fellow entrepreneurs, guess what's going to happen? You're going to watch them win. You're going to see them talking about getting new clients. You're going to see them talking about how much money they made that month. You're going to see them talking about launching new offers and watching them have success. And you're also going to hear about some of the challenges they're experiencing as well, right? And so you'll have that camaraderie. You'll learn from your fellow entrepreneurs. You can seek support from them, right, when you're struggling. And also they will celebrate you and celebrate with you when you are winning. So getting into a squad, into a community of fellow entrepreneurs is imperative. Please don't think that this is a step to skip. Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, do this first, okay? Get around entrepreneurs so that you can see what I'm telling you to do, it actually works. And it's working for so many people right now. And even though you feel like, oh my God, I'm taking this huge risk, it's really not that big of a risk as long as you follow the steps in this plan, okay? And when you connect with other entrepreneurs, you're gonna see like, oh, people actually do have success. And oh, I have the potential to make way more than just covering my monthly expense in the future. So I want you to get into a community of fellow entrepreneurs, and that's gonna help you like reinforce that belief, be motivated, and feel secure as you take this risk and quit your job. Okay. So one of the things that you can do is we have a challenge that we're hosting every single month called the Make Money Moves Challenge. Join us for our next challenge. You'll be in a community of amazing entrepreneurs, and you'll make a bunch of money moves that will help you to get to that monthly nut that you need to make. Okay. Well, that's what I have for you today. This is your 5-step plan before you quit your job. Okay. So despite what you may have heard, it sounds glamorous to just quit. You know, we see people quitting their job on social media. Don't be one of those people, okay? Because the other side of that is poverty. So you don't want that. You don't want that, okay? What you want is to quit your job and know that you've got some income coming in and know that you can rely on yourself to keep getting this money, right? This is just the beginning. Take these steps, and I'm telling you, it works. And then after you get this party started, you'll go and make even more money, and it's gonna be so much fun. All right, I will see you in the next episode where I'm gonna talk about how you can make money from any marketable skill set that you have. All right, I will see you then. Bye for now.
You want to make more money? You are in the right place. Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rogers.